Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lost Love Stories, where we just really have great conversations about what happens when we lose the people we love and our growth and journey back to joy. And I'm really excited today to have my new friend, Monica Meacham, joining us with her story of with her husband, Gabe. She's got a really interesting perspective that I hadn't heard before. And as it relates to getting back into the work world and really, I think, really important conversation to have because it's just another way that widows sort of get brushed off to the side and it's total bullshit. So I am really excited for you to be here, Monica, and share your story and just welcome. So come on and, just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met Gabe and your origin story of your love story.
Yeah. Monica again, and I have 2.5 kids with Gabe. I jokingly say 2.5.
Mhm.
When I met him, he actually had a son who was 4 years old at the time of us meeting. So he's my quote unquote point five.
I love
And
that.
then we also have together now a 10-year-old and an
Mhm.
8-year-old.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah, and so we talked about that. I want to get into that too because I loved when we talked the other day about your relationship with your stepson. It's very
mhm,
sweet and very special, and I love that, and because that's another whole dynamic we could get into, right? On
mhm,
how when the biological parent passes, what that does to the step parent and that potential relationship. So I love that too. So we'll have to remember to circle back. But
mhm.
tell me, like, how did you guys meet?
I was 32 at the time, so a little bit quote unquote older, and especially given my background, I'm Indian. Both of my parents are from India, so I was like an old lady hag who
Yeah,
he
ask
wasn't married yet,
Ginger.
right?
Uh-huh.
But I met him at 32, and how I met him was actually through my best friend. My best friend called me up and said, "Hey, I wanna introduce you to somebody." She had, been dating somebody for about a year, pretty serious at that point, and she's like, "He's got a friend that I've met, and they've been in and out of their friendship, like, they hadn't talked to each other for a while, but he just came back in." And she's like, "But I wanna warn you, that he is recently divorced or recently separated." He wasn't divorced yet, he was recently separated, and he had a kid. And again, I mentioned I'm Indian, right? So I was a little concerned
Yeah.
because coming from a culture where your parents are very like first marriage, divorce is bad, right? Like anybody that has kids, I was a little concerned about, well, I don't know how my parents are gonna, because I
Yeah.
very much, not that I want to find somebody that my parents approve, but I don't want it to be a relationship that they can't get along with them either, right? I
Yeah.
mean, your family is so important in all of that. Um, Especially to ever have a
Mhm.
fruitful long-term marriage, right? You
Sure.
have to have all that going on, right?
For
So,
sure.
I was a little concerned, but I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a chance. You never know. I can't say no." And then
Is
if
he
there's
Indian as
something
well?
there. Huh?
Was he Indian as well?
No, he wasn't.
Was that
That was the
Mm,
other big point, right? He
okay.
wasn't Indian. He
Mhm.
was he was separated, so previously married
Yeah.
with a child. So I
Oh,
was
God.
thinking, "Oh my god, this is the trifecta
Yeah.
of no, they are not gonna be okay with
Yeah.
this." But again, given that it was my best friend and I really trusted who she was and she knows the type of personality I like and all that, I said, "Okay, well, I'll give it a chance and I'll at least meet him and we'll see what happens." So she set up a meeting for all of us to go to. It was actually at his house,
Mhm.
because he had a son, and he always had a son every weekend, and, later on, I'll talk about his relationship with his
Yeah.
child, where it's really part of what I fell in love with him was how
Oh.
much he was just there for his
Mhm.
very like, you're not in front of my kid is number 1, and I
Oh, wow.
respect that a lot, but
Yeah.
anyways, we went to his cabin, his son was already asleep, he made dinner, and, he was in a cabin in Dahlonega at the time, so kinda secluded and all that, And, at first it was all 4 of us hanging out and talking, and then at some point we were talking outside, and my friend and her now husband, because 'cause they're
Mhm.
married, which, by the way, interesting thing is her husband is best friends with my was best friends with my husband.
Oh,
So, they
wow.
went to high school together. They were the longest
Wow.
friends. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history between the 2 of
Wow.
them that even though they went in and out of
Mhm.
like, seeing each other or keeping in contact, they still would consider each other their best friend,
Wow.
overall just because of, they've known each other for so long,
Yeah.
right? But they went inside and me and Gabe kind of stayed outside and stayed on the deck and just talked for the longest time for hours and
Wow.
yeah, it was it and, part of what I jokingly say that, I knew that he was in it for me was definitely was because I literally had a conversation with him. Probably an hour of that conversation was around Halloween.
Oh,
Um I've got a really weird infatuation with Halloween. I like go all out, balls out with
love.
with
Mhm.
Halloween now, especially now,
Yeah.
as I've gotten older and have a little bit more money to play with
Yeah.
than before.
Love that.
But I had just purchased a Halloween village. So those Christmas villages? There's a
Yes.
Halloween version of it, and it
Okay.
was way too expensive and way too much money anybody should ever spend on anything. And I think I was having a little bit of buyer's remorse as I was
Uh-huh.
talking to him because I literally just bought it.
Oh
But
my
the
god.
fact is that he still sat there and entertained my weirdness and
Yeah.
just all of who I am because I am a very eccentric individual. A lot of I don't know, I don't want to say over the top personality, but I'm a lot
You have
sometimes,
a
right?
big personality, which I appreciate.
So
I get accused of that as well, and
Mhm.
I love a big personality, so
It's
yeah.
good. I mean, it keeps you going. It keeps
Mhm.
life happy.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but we talked for a really long time and it was great. And he got my number afterwards and he
Mhm,
said, "Can I call you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure."
mhm.
So he called me a few days later and said, "Hey, you want to go out?" And for about 3 months, every time he called me, I said I was washing my hair.
What?
Here's the thing. We had just gotten out of a relationship,
Yeah.
right? I had never been married. I had been dating for a very long time, and
Mhm.
he literally just got out of,
Yeah,
separated. Now, I could tell from what he was talking about that, it was over, right? Because he was very clear and he was very open that his wife, his at the time, she didn't wanna continue it, and who is he to force anything? And, at that point, when she said it was done, he in his mind also said, "Okay, I guess it's
yeah,
done." He wouldn't have been done if she didn't say it, and I will be frank that he was always very honest with me about
mhm,
that. Now, granted, since then, things changed and,
yeah,
obviously, he was very happy for the change, but at the time, it was what he was facing, right?
mhm,
And, he was with her for many years. He got with her when he was 19 years old. He had never had a relation like, he'd never gone and sowed his wild oats
Oh,
or whatnot,
wow.
right? Like,
Yeah,
I've had 15 years of having a lot of fun
yeah,
and or 10 years, right, of just dating and seeing different things and knowing what's out there and knowing what I wanted and knowing what I didn't want. While him, I felt like he necessarily didn't.
yeah,
And
well, that makes sense too because you don't wanna be it's not like I can just see I'm just putting myself in your position with, you know, if he would have chosen to stay in that relationship, that's, his heart's not like, "Oh, I'm done with her," you know? Also, you don't wanna be the rebound
the
girl.
rebound. Yeah.
That's the bigger thing,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, and yeah, that's a tough one, so very smart to be
Yeah,
watching.
he actually later on, he said, I mean, that I probably am the smartest person he's ever met for
Mhm.
doing that,
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
allowed him time to date a
Mhm.
few people, and
Oh,
I
well.
knew I'd always have the connection to him
Mhm.
because of my friends, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
his best friend that was dating my best
yeah,
friend, at the time, so I knew that the connection was there, but at the same point, I was like, I don't wanna be the rebound. I like him, and I could get
uh-huh,
really hurt by him, and I don't
totally.
like, I get along with him, we
Yeah,
talk really well, and that's, number 1 for me has always been finding somebody that could be my friend as
yeah.
well, right? Like, I don't wanna just be married to somebody, I wanna be married to my best friend.
Mhm.
Um, so He tried on and off for a few months to call me, and I did, quote, unquote, "blow him off" by saying I was washing my hair because it would always be on a Sunday, and I had a good excuse behind it. My hair takes a long time to do, especially back then because we didn't have, like, the Dyson hair things and
Right.
some of
Yeah.
the fast drying things. It literally took me, not kidding, 2 hours to dry my hair straight and do it because it's very frizzy
Wow.
and all
Yeah.
that. But, I took my time, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it
Right.
took a long time. Um, anyways, he dated, a couple folks in the
Okay.
interim, one of which he dated for a couple months,
Mhm.
and, again, because I have that connection, I asked my friend, I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, is he
What's
dating
happening?
somebody?" And
Yeah.
she told me, and she met her and this and that, and for a minute, I was like, "Uh-oh, maybe I screwed up," because,
Yeah.
they've been dating for a few months now, and he stopped calling me, which is fine, but whatever, right? Like, maybe I screwed up.
Mhm.
But then a couple months later goes by, and so I met him in October, beginning of October. That's when we had our first conversation. Then February rolls around, Super Bowl time.
Mhm.
And my friend was hosting a Super Bowl party,
Okay.
and I was supposed to go, and she knew I was supposed to go, but last minute I canceled.
Oh.
Because I don't remember why, but whatever, right? And I canceled last minute, and he messaged me halfway between, and he's like, "I thought you were gonna be here and I would get a chance to see you again." He had
Okay.
recently, not recently, but I think like a few weeks or a month
Okay.
earlier, broken up with that girl that he dated for 3 months. He dated a couple people before that as well. And I knew that again because of the contact,
Mhm.
right?
Okay. And
And he convinced me, he's like, "Look, I know you're skeptical. Can we just, like, go to dinner as friends and
okay.
just hang out and just, let's go there and just,
Mhm.
let's just do something. We both get along pretty well. Doesn't no strings attached." And I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, fine. Let's, you've been, coming back every so often, so yeah, sure, let's go."
Yeah.
So we went to dinner, and, it was great. I mean, again, it was fluid conversation you could have with somebody you thought you knew your whole life, right?
Yeah, that's awesome
Yeah,
and very rare.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, and again, I threw out a little bit of the cray cray because I like to test.
Got
And at the
waters.
end, I started talking about how aliens told me I could throw vehicles or something, like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just made up something
Yeah.
stupid.
Oh my god.
But just again, just to see, like, is he willing to play with, like, is this something that he can handle or is this not? Because again, I'm pretty
Yeah.
so sitting there telling him, like, I talk to aliens and
Yeah.
yeah, I can do this stuff, but not in front of you because it's only powers I can do when nobody's around or something silly, right? But he played along with it just so well, right? Like, he had fun with it, and
Mm.
he enjoyed the
Mhm.
back and forth banter,
Yeah.
and he we that night, I nothing major, major, but we kissed, and
Oh,
and and
okay.
and that's when I realized, okay, he could be something,
Yeah.
more, and I
Mm.
let him sow his wild oats, and one
Yeah.
of the girls that he dated was a little bit more crazy than I am, and
It made you look
so
better.
so breath I look like a fresh of breath air. I don't know.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, but we dated, and we started dating. Later that year, my best friend and her husband now, got
Mhm.
married. So
Okay.
we went to their wedding. I was one of her bridesmaids. He was his maid of his groom,
Oh,
his
that's
actually, what's it called?
yes, ma'am.
Best man.
Mhm. Yep.
Um and, we did actually before that, sorry, before the wedding was we did it was a bachelor and bachelorette trip that was apart but together. It was really
Oh,
cool.
interesting.
They did a
Uh-huh.
cruise. So the boys
Okay.
went on one cruise, the girls went on one cruise, and one day we met in Atlantis for one
That's
afternoon.
cool.
And it was really cool. So, I got to see him a little bit there on vacation, right? And, as things grew. And then, a couple months later is when they got married. And, I did catch her bouquet. So,
Stop it.
it
Oh
was
my
kind of
god.
cute, right? Like, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just literally, there's several
Landed
women
in your
and
hands.
it happened.
That's awesome.
Um, I didn't fight anybody down for it. It just happened, right?
Oh, hair wrestle.
He didn't catch the other one, but that's okay.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and we just continued the relationship. He knew right away that I was very vocal of, "Look, I'm 32 years old. I
Mhm.
want children. You have a child. I want a child. I want
Yeah.
children. So if you want to be with me, that's what you are signing up for.
Yeah.
Is that you're not going to be dating me for years upon years upon
Mhm.
years. It's going to be a you decide if I'm the right person or not relatively quickly, and then we move forward or we don't. I just don't want to play any games, right? Like I was
Right.
very vocal about that. So the whole time, we dated, he very much made me feel like I was the one for him. He was except for when his son was around, right? Again, going back to his son was always number 1, which is again, I loved that, right?
Yeah.
Like like I would try one time here or there just to see, and he
Uh-huh.
very well put me in the sense of no, no, I my son's number 1, and I
Yeah.
loved that.
Yeah.
Um, because you don't see a lot of men do that,
No.
right? You
No,
don't
that's good
see them
dad
come and
material.
take care
Mhm.
of their kids and make sure that they're every single
Mhm.
weekend, and they don't even miss a weekend just because their
Mhm.
girlfriend says, "Hey, I wanna hang out with just you." No, that
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was, "We are hanging out with my son," because that's how it's gonna work. Because he lived, about 45 minutes away. He lived up in Dawsonville, I'm in Roswell, right?
Okay.
So weekdays, I worked a lot. He had a business. It was a little bit harder to see each other on the weekdays. We did, but not as often as we could on the weekends. Weekends
Right.
were really where we could really spend some time together. So I got to know his son really well, and that was great and stuff. And a year later, we got engaged. And again, it was, I'm not going to say that I twisted his arm, but I very
Yeah.
made it clear that, there's a
Your clock.
clock, right? Like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
do want kids, and he knew that. We got engaged, and then a year later we got married. So we
Okay.
dated for 2 years in
Okay.
totality. Still decent, right? But
Yeah.
at the same point,
Mhm.
good. Still at the same point being able to understand who each other was and
Yeah.
became very good best friends and all of that. And he moved in with me a little bit earlier.
Mhm.
Of course, my parents would hate that I said that, but,
Yeah.
Indian mentality again, right?
Right. Mhm.
And then, going back to the Indian mentality, when I started dating him seriously and I started realizing, oh, there could be something here, I
Mhm.
actually talked to my father and said, "Look, here's the deal." And going back to at 32, they consider you like done. He was like, "Oh, you're so old anyways, it doesn't matter. You can't be greedy."
Oh my god.
And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll take that, right? If you wanna put
That's
it in the
good.
not greedy
Yeah.
aspect, good." I'm just thinking of it more on he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
You're thinking of it more on you're
They're
greedy,
like,
but
"Thank God
whatever.
somebody's taking her."
Right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we got married, in July, 5th of, 2015.
Okay.
No, 2014, sorry, 2014.
Mhm.
And it was always the joke of the day after 4th of July, he lost his
Oh,
independence
yeah.
again, right? So,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, that's, how we met and I guess when we got married.
I love that. That's a great story. That's a great
Mhm.
story. And then, how long until the babies came?
The babies came pretty quick.
Yeah.
We got married in July of
Mhm.
2014, and my
Mhm.
first son was born in October of 2015.
Okay.
So 6, 7 months
Mhm.
and also I never honestly thought I was gonna be able to get pregnant without
Oh,
help.
wow.
I have medical issues that
Mhm.
it's called PCOS, right? So
Okay.
a lot of women, some women have
Mhm.
it. But I was always told that I was gonna need help.
Mhm.
But I didn't. So
Wow.
there you go.
Yay. Yay. That's awesome. Okay, good. And
Yeah.
then how did his son what is his son's name?
His son's name is Logan.
Logan. How was
Yes.
Logan being the big brother?
Loved it. He wanted it. He asked
Mhm.
for it,
Oh,
right?
he did.
So he
Uh-huh.
did. Yeah, when we got married about a month or 2 afterwards,
Mhm.
we were in the car or something driving. Yeah, we were in the car. It was weird because it was out of nowhere. And he's like, I won't be offended if you guys have a kid or bring me a brother or sister. He's like,
Oh.
I really would love it. And
Oh
and
my
we're like,
god.
okay, great. you know?
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, Logan has been an absolutely incredible brother, absolutely
Beautiful.
incredible. He's always there for both of them, all the time, and he's very caring and just stand-up kid
Yeah.
overall, very stand-up
Aw,
kid, yeah.
that's awesome. And then just cool because, I mean, you knew him from such a young age. It's not, just it's easier, I think, when they know you from such a young age than having somebody who's a little older and like, "Who you coming into my life,
Yep.
lady?" You know? So
Yeah,
that's
and we made it kinda make him feel that he gotta help make that decision in a way, right?
Mhm.
Like, because again, he's the one that came to us saying,
Yeah,
I want a sibling, right? And
yeah.
we kinda opened the door of having those conversations with him of, maybe someday we might have kids, but we wanna wait till you're comfortable. I mean, we weren't quote
Mhm.
unquote waiting, but,
Right.
we wanted him
Yeah.
to feel like he was part of a lot of what we were trying to grow, right?
Yeah.
We didn't want him to feel separated from it at all.
I love that. That's really smart, actually. That's really smart. I love that. Such a, really, it sounds weird, but like an inclusive way to manage the whole thing. It's not
Mhm.
like you're a kid, you don't have a say. It's hugely impacts their life too. So
Oh,
that's really cool. I
absolutely.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about the I don't want to say I hate it's not the end of the love story because the love story lasts forever, but
Yeah. Well
walk.
well,
Mm,
one thing before the end I forgot to mention,
yeah.
is, the day after or sorry, a week before we got married,
Hmm.
um, I actually ended up, leaving the business that I was working with
Uh-huh.
to join his company. So,
Okay.
not only were we getting married, but we were going into business
Oh wow.
together basically right away.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
that's a very interesting thing,
that couldn't
especially
make or
coming.
break, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he already had a business. He was, running a website design firm, but what he could do was a lot more. He could design
Mhm.
software,
Right.
and I'm a data analyst, RevOps now, but, I understand how data needs to work together, so I'm a
Mhm.
data architect in a way, right?
Uh-huh.
And he could see that, and he's like, "Well, what if we marry somebody like you with somebody like me to create true systems where they people could really understand what they're trying to do?" So, that's
Yeah.
also a big thing to note is that not only we were married, we actually ran a
Yeah.
business together for over 5 years or
Wow.
almost 5 years, at the front of our marriage.
Wow. That's actually really cool to think about how so aligned what you were doing are complementary, what you guys were doing with your business too. That's very cool. And so
Mhm.
how did that all work? Everything as far as working together, living together, married together, like all of the things?
Hard. It wasn't easy at
Ah.
first. It was if you can manage figuring out how to, work with your husband as well as
Mhm.
manage them, pseudo manage them, because that's
Yeah.
what I basically was doing. Like, even though his title was CEO, I was over the business. I was over
Yeah.
how it ran. I was over the people that came in because I'm the finance expert, right?
Mhm.
I had a lot more background there than he did. Yes, he had
Yeah.
the background in doing what he did, but he didn't have the background in running a business.
Right.
And so that's when he's like, "You're the business person." I said, "If I'm the business person, that means I'm telling you what to do."
Yeah.
Right? Like, are we okay with that, right?
Yeah.
So it was a struggle for about 6 months, and it was a struggle because his biggest contract he had that really helped that business run died about 2 months after we got
Oh,
married.
wow.
So, that didn't help, right? Now all of a sudden, we've lost the biggest contract that really helped get that business kept the business afloat because
Mhm.
we were hoping that it was a growth stage,
Yeah.
not a keeping it afloat, right? And then now all of
Right.
a sudden we're down
Oh
and we're
god.
figuring out how to keep something afloat where we have a
Mhm.
couple employees, and now the biggest contract's gone, and that biggest contract actually took one of our good employees.
Oh god. Oh my god. Yeah, so talk about adding stress and financial all to the whole.
Financial, all of that, right? I quit my job, I did all this stuff. I was worried because I was on a good trajectory
Mhm.
career-wise of, "Oh god, if I all of a sudden am not doing this, that's gonna look horrible on my resume," right? Like, I had made strides career-wise myself,
Yeah.
yeah, it was scary for sure,
Yeah.
and it was hard at first because it was like, how do you how do you tell your husband what to do in a
Yeah,
work environment and then break that apart in a
yeah,
personal environment, right? How do you
right,
make
how do
sure
you
he
not carry
understands?
all of that home?
Yeah,
Mm.
because his mentality on business, there was definitely core things that had to be shifted. Like he did not have a customer first mentality. You got to have that
Mhm.
in most businesses,
Yeah,
right? Like there was a lot of fundamental things that I had to help him understand that you have to shift it. If
mhm,
you want to be a business owner, you can't run under that model. You have to
yeah,
run under something a little bit different. Don't let people
right.
take advantage of you, but at the same point, your customer is very important.
Oh, yeah.
And, you've gotta there's the things like that that you've gotta be in play for.
Wow. Wow.
So
That's
and to boot, his brother worked for us, and
oh
while I
my
love his brother to death,
god.
there's always a form of
Ah.
right? Like
Yeah. Again, who is this lady coming in and telling us what to do? Oh my god, that's a lot. Wow.
Mhm. Yeah. But I'd say about after I wanna say it was about 8 to 10 months. We moved out of the location we were in, we went into another location, I took on a big loan because
Mhm.
I really believed in trying to figure out how we could super expand the business.
Yeah.
And we brought on a bunch of employees and things like that. When we shifted over to the new facility and he saw all that, that's really where our dynamic really changed for the better, right? Like
Okay.
at first there was a few butting of heads, right? I'm a
Yeah.
very strong, independent a person and a very vocal individual, especially when it comes to business.
Yeah.
And it's his baby,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting here
Yeah.
going, rip it up, right? Like, no,
Right.
not rip it up, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like for
yeah.
him, he's seeing it in that lens. And
Totally.
so that's where I had to figure out, okay, wait a minute. I got to figure out how to work with him right. So he understands what I'm doing is for the betterment of the business, not the worst,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that it was like a ton of like reflective conversations in your own mind on how to deliver in the best, most productive way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, which teaches you a lot about the art of conversation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
we actually ran
huge.
a radio show together there. It was probably one of the
Oh,
funnest things we did together was
that's
we did a
really
radio
cool.
show because me and him could talk well. Sometimes people would think we're fighting, but we were never ever fighting.
Mhm,
It was debate, right? Like we
mhm,
always had great debate together and very respectful debate,
uh-huh,
right? And it was never anything else but that. So
that's cool. So what was the
that's
radio show about?
it was a business show because we were entrepreneurs, so it was bringing on other entrepreneurs and talking about how to start up a business, the ins
Mhm.
and outs of things that you face, challenges, stuff like that. So it
Oh,
was on
wow,
an
that's
AM
awesome.
radio show. We went down to the radio station once a week and
That's
recorded, and it was a lot of fun for
that's
sure.
really cool. I love that. That's
Yeah.
so fun. And do you have and I think about this because my husband was very much into all that kind of stuff too, public speaking and all the radio spots, and I have, like, so much footage of him that do you have access to the recordings of those?
We've got some. Honestly, I haven't most of it he saved. Most of it he had on his stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, I'll be honest, I just haven't brought myself
Yeah,
to go and find it yet,
yeah.
just because of, right, the memories and
Mhm.
everything and
Yeah, it's hard.
just what it does, right? I choose the battles I walk into every day that keep me level-headed and sane.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I choose the one to not that someday I'll get there, and I
you
know it's not
will.
gonna go anywhere. They're
Right.
all on the clouds somewhere, and they're
Somewhere.
not in
Yeah,
things that I know will dissipate.
yeah,
So it's just I just gotta get up one day and just be like, "Okay, I'm ready now
yeah.
to really go and bring it all in." And I think I've had a couple friends do it for me
Mhm.
also. It's just me going out there and just
Yeah,
making sure where it all
totally.
is.
Yeah. I get I get that completely, just, with all the stuff that John and I recorded together. I don't know if I told you this, but we did a whole when he was diagnosed with his brain cancer, instead of doing a caring bridge, we did, I created a Facebook like a Facebook page that I called Coffee, Cancer, and Cocktails, and it was like how we updated everybody. That anytime anything happened, his whole entire journey for 3 years, we would go live on Facebook and just do it
Mhm.
together. We were almost always together, and it was real raw, real authentic, like,
Wow.
sometimes we were fighting, sometimes we were crying, sometimes we were, like, celebrating because he got a good scan or whatever it was, it's all there.
Oh,
So I have, like, 60 videos of us together that
Mhm.
I've now put on YouTube and just as a place to store them, but they I don't watch them. I don't watch them because it's too hard, but I'm glad they're there, but yeah, going to revisit it is
Mm.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it is.
especially watching the progression of his disease is, not
Oof.
very hard. Alright, so fast forward to what happened.
Yeah. So on the morning of my 11-year anniversary,
Mhm,
July 5th of, last year, 2025,
mhm,
6:30 in the morning, my, son came running upstairs saying, Call the ambulance." Dad's saying, "Call an ambulance." Dad's saying, "Call an ambulance." I run downstairs and I find him, and he's saying he can't breathe,
mm,
and he's had a few spouts of this before where he can't breathe. Um, but, I couldn't find his inhaler, so right away I just said, "Okay, I'm gonna call the
mhm,
ambulance," and called the ambulance, and then as the minutes progressed, you just could see it wasn't just a normal not breathing, like episode, it was something far more, you know, um, hearing some of the words that came out of his mouth, the last
mhm,
words, hardest thing, hard to repeat, but hardest thing to ever hear. Um, essentially, because my kids were young, I sent them outside. I said, Your responsibility is to flag down the ambulance. What el you know
mhm,
what I mean? What else can I
yeah,
do? They're 10 and 8. I can't have them hear what was happening and hear all that
I should have
and
that
take that."
either.
Right.
Yeah,
His oldest son was home, and, when I was on the phone with the ambulance, they wanted me to try to figure out how to lay him down, and my husband's a very big man, right?
right,
So I couldn't do it by myself.
mhm,
My father-in-law, lives with us. My husband's stepfather lives with us, and, unfortunately, he has Parkinson's, so he doesn't have
wow,
the
mhm,
strength. So I was, basically faced with the decision of, do I just let it be like this, or do I call his son, who was 18,
mhm,
and make him come and help me? And obviously, I called his son. I didn't want to, just because I didn't want him to, because I didn't know what was happening, and nobody
yeah,
wants to see their father that way, right? Like, that's not the last. I didn't even think it was last, but you know what I
right.
mean? Like, just all of it, it
To
was
have
a
any
lot.
of that visual. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot for any child to ever yeah, he's 18, but still, he's a child, right? It's
yeah,
just so hard for any kid to ever have to do that. But I had no choice, and so I called him down and I said, "Come help," and he came and he tried as well, but he also couldn't, and the room that my husband was in was a very small room that we didn't have a lot of leverage. Um, so he just held him up instead, so he wouldn't fall over, so he held him up until the ambulance got there, and then the paramedics came in, and, they were able to bring him out of the room and lay him down. Um, he was breathing,
mhm,
and, he was still breathing. But, from what I understand, he arrested in the house. They brought him back, and then they took him into the ambulance where they told me to meet me at the hospital,
mhm,
and, at that point, I thought everything was okay, right? Like,
yeah, it's in the
yeah, he may
ambulance.
be arrested, but they brought him back so quick. I was there. It wasn't like 5 minutes. It wasn't anything crazy. "Okay, I'll see him at the hospital. He'll be fine. We'll figure this out. We'll figure out what happened." Obviously, something happened with his heart, right?
Mhm,
Obviously, it was a heart issue. He did have COPD, by the way,
okay,
but never anything that we thought would take him, or
right,
I didn't. I
right,
didn't. He did. I didn't. Um, and, I went to the hospital, and, they pulled me back into the room. Before they pulled me in, they said that he arrested again in the ambulance, and it was a struggle to bring him back, but they did bring him back.
mhm,
And when I went into the room to see him, um, there's 5 there's 5 things that I unfortunately had to learn this a little over a year earlier. My father had was basically brain dead.
Mhm.
There's 5 signals or 5 things that they look for to see if there's brain activity. One of which, the biggest one, is the pupils dilating. And after they had told me they had a struggle in the ambulance, and then when I went in the room to watch them doing the 5 tests, because again, I knew what they were doing because 'cause I've seen
Yeah.
it before. I watched their eyes.
Mm.
His eyes didn't dilate, not once. And that's your biggest indicator in that world, right? Like
Mhm.
in the brain world is the eyes. And his eyes didn't dilate, and, they handed me his ring. They
Mhm.
didn't say anything yet, but they just said, "We have to take this off for now, hold on to it." Hasn't left my side since.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, as the day progressed, I mean, again, this was 7:30 in the morning at this point, or 8,
Mhm.
maybe 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
As the day progressed and as we watched, I mean, you always have hope, but there's also a sense of reality that you have to have when you have children,
Yeah,
that you
well,
have to
and I'm sure
compartmentalize.
you just had gone through it with your own dad,
I had just gone through it with my dad.
so it was, like, fresh, really.
Correct, yeah, I mean, my dad didn't have a heart attack, my dad ended up having a brain event. We thought he fell and hurt himself, and then that's how it caused it, but it turned out he had a brain event.
Mhm.
But you learn so much from watching somebody sit in a hospital for
Yeah.
4 days
Yeah.
and understanding what the brain does and the MRI and why you take the MRI, when you take it, and all that stuff. And because I had seen all that, really, it did, this is my dad's chain
Uh-huh.
right
Oh,
here.
wow.
This is my husband's ring. And I always say that this is my strength and this is my
Mhm.
love, right?
Mhm.
Like, my father gave me the strength in a very weird way because he prepped me.
Yeah.
He prepped me in so many ways that, not even just by him going,
Yeah.
he had told me always when I was, younger that I had to be on my own and I had to be able to take care of myself
Mhm.
because if I ever married somebody that would and you had
Mhm.
kids,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to have them suffer. So I've always, been very career-minded because of
Yeah.
that, because he put that in my head.
Mhm.
Thank God he did, because I don't know how some women could do it otherwise that
Right.
don't have that, right? Like, if they
Well,
didn't have a career or
how
something.
brilliant of your dad because people, don't talk about this, which is insane, but, you know, most women become widows. They do. They do.
Mhm,
So, that's very forward thinking of your father. That's
mhm.
amazing, and
Especially an Indian father, because in India, when you're a widow, your life's over. Like,
yeah.
that is how they view culturally,
Mhm.
maybe not as much anymore, but, I mean, his generation most
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
views it that way. Your life's over.
Yeah. It's amazing
Um,
that
but
he did that. I also think, I didn't know that was your dad's chain. I saw, I've obviously seen you in person, so we done talked about it, but I assumed that was your husband's ring. And I love that you said the strength and the love. And if people are listening to this, they won't have seen it, but if they're watching it on YouTube, um, as soon as you started talking about that last day, you you went and you held on to that.
mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it was immediate. You I don't know if you even recognize that you're doing it, but you can I saw it. You're holding on to the strength and the love of both of those important men in your life. That's beautiful. Beautiful. So
So yeah, I mean, that day progressed pretty hard. Every test showed just nothing
mhm,
good.
yeah.
Um, that night, um, my stepson, who's 18 again, I talked to his mother first because I wanted to make sure she was. And
Mm,
by the way, let me tell you, an amazing ex-wife for sure,
mhm,
because um, the relationship that we all had was wonderful. Because my stepson called her obviously right after the ambulance
Yeah.
left and left a very weird message. She didn't answer it. She didn't talk to him on the phone. He stopped answering the phone because
Mhm.
obviously, everything that he had just went through, he probably didn't know how to talk to her. She
Yeah.
called me. I told her right away what was happening. She got up, came to my house immediately, and was there basically for 3
Oh,
days to help
wow.
with my children
Wow.
of course, her son was there, and she didn't wanna take her son home
Yeah.
because she knew that her son was my kid's support,
Yeah.
right? Like, she
Amazing.
she recognized that, and it just yeah, just an incredible
That's
just,
great.
there's you hear horror stories of people that get divorced and,
Yeah, totally.
the bitterness that happens and
Mhm.
all that, but I can't say anything more kind about her
No.
than what she did and how she
Mhm.
really just helped out and just was there
That's awesome.
through all of it, for those 3 days in the
Mhm.
hospital because I was there, like,
Of
I came
course.
home a little bit, but I wasn't willing to, I slept there. I
Yeah.
did not sleep there. I wasn't as long as he was alive, I was
Mhm.
sleeping there.
Yeah,
I came home to see
absolutely.
my kids, yes, but as long as he was still breathing, I was there every night, and
Oh.
the doctors knew that that's how it
Mhm.
was gonna be until he was gone,
Yeah.
especially as the days progressed and we knew what was potentially gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
But that night, talked to my stepson, and, he's about to go to college, right? So,
Mhm.
again, this happened in July, and college starts in August.
Oh god, yeah.
And I've heard so many horror stories of kids just
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they watch us. They watch us, and they learn from us, and they
Mhm.
learn how to be and how to keep going. And, I told my stepson that night, I said, "Look, no matter what happens, it's not looking good." I was very
Yeah.
honest with him. I told him what it looked like. He's like, "Be truthful." And I said, "If you want me
Mhm.
to be truthful, it's not it's a slim.
Mhm.
It's his eyes have not dilated all day.
Wow.
There's no brain activity, and there's no reception happening whatsoever." I said, "If you want me to" he said, "That is" because he'd asked me in the afternoon if his eyes were dilating, so he's smart enough to
Oh,
know that.
wow.
But I ignored the question and said, "I gotta call you back later," because I hadn't talked to his mother yet, and I wanted to make sure
Oh,
me and her were
okay.
on the same page about what I tell him, because I wasn't gonna tell my kids just yet because they
Right.
were far too young. Their
Right.
brains couldn't process, right? Like, I needed to know that that was the final end
Mhm.
before I told a 10 and 8-year-old, but him
Yeah.
being an 18-year-old, he's an adult, and I really wanted to be respectful of him
Yeah.
knowing what was happening if that's what needed to happen. So,
Yeah, makes sense.
I told him, I said, "Look, at the end of the day, you're going to college in a month. No matter
Mhm.
what happens these next 3 days, do not forget that because your father would hate for this to ruin your life."
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? And I knew that of him. I talked to Gabe about death quite a few times.
Oh,
Gabe,
wow.
you know, if he was rich, you would think that he made a deal with the devil because he was, I'm not kidding, convinced he was gonna die before the age of 50.
Really?
Told me many times, including the first night we met, "I'll die
Wow.
before I'm 50." And there
Wow.
was no I mean, yes, yes, he had COPD,
Uh-huh.
he had some heart issues, but his mom died semi-young, but not that
Mhm.
young, right? He was 46 years old. His mom was in her 60s, she died of cancer,
And
2 years earlier, late 60s, I think. And then his father was technically still alive before he passed, and his father was, I think, late 60s, early 70s.
okay, so it's not
Um
like, somebody has a history of everybody all the men die.
Nobody in that from what I
Mhm.
understand, there is no young deaths of heart in
So
that family.
interesting, he just felt it.
He just knew it. And I mean, he cried to me 2 months before. In the middle of the night, he was crying. He said, "I don't wanna die early." I mean,
Wow.
that's how much, like, you're like that's why joking, did he make a deal with the devil? Because how did he
Yeah,
know?
I
Like, how did he
know.
know?
Yeah.
A month beforehand, we were looking at houses. He
Mhm.
told me to stop looking. Right?
What?
We went, so what happened was, we love our house, right? We bought our house about 5 years ago, beautiful house, perfect on the inside.
Mhm.
He wants chickens, and it's a
Uh-huh.
semi. right? And he
Yeah.
always wanted chickens. And I always wanted a pool.
Okay.
So I'm like, "Okay, well, I wanna know where we're gonna be if I'm gonna build, because I wanna build a pool. I don't wanna build it in the house that our kids aren't going to high school in. I
Right.
want it to be in our house that's through high school.
Mhm.
So if we're gonna move, let's go find another place." So I started looking around, and I found one place that had a pool already, had 2.5 acres, so you could have chickens.
Gonna have chickens. Mhm.
Yeah, and it was literally not even a month before. He passed on, he had his first episode on July 5th, but, it was like June 12th, 14th that we went and looked at this house.
Wow.
And, we looked at it. We didn't like the inside. Right away, we said, "Nope, this isn't the right
Mhm.
house for us." But as we were standing outside, he looked at me, he said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Because you want chickens and I want a pool." And he's like, "You want a pool that bad?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, well, think about our house, everything that I built in the backyard." And by the way, he has built me the most magical backyard
Oh,
possible. It's
wow.
a three-tiered deck. This backyard was nothing before, and now there's like 15 fruit trees. There's
Oh,
roses throughout the whole
fun.
backyard. There's flowers and plants. He never bought me flowers, but he
Mhm.
always planted me
Oh,
flowers. It was his
interesting.
thing, right?
I
Like
love
he would
that.
never like buy me loose
Yeah.
flowers because like they die. He's
Yeah.
like, "Instead, I plant them for you." So he made me a
Sure.
beautiful backyard. It's still a decent sized backyard. And he's like, and he looked at me and he said, "If I die tomorrow, can you take care of 2.5 acres?"
Oh, wow.
I said, I mean, so I was like, "That's stupid. Why are
Yeah.
you're not dying tomorrow. Why are you saying that?" He's like, "No, seriously, if I die tomorrow, can you take care of this much
Wow.
land?" He's like, "I bet you can barely take care of what I built you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I probably barely could take care
Oh
of
my
what
god.
you built me. And I don't know if I could take care of 2.5 acres. I don't know if
Mhm.
I'd stay here."
And
And
that
he
was
said,
like 3
"Stop."
weeks.
He said,
Oh.
"Stop. Stop looking.
Wow.
We're gonna build a pool in the backyard." We went
Wow.
home that day. We picked where it's gonna go.
Oh,
And we said, "Okay, this is the forever house." He's like, "I don't want chickens." I said, "I don't." He's like, "You know how I feel. You know I don't feel like I'm convinced I'm gonna die young."
oh my god.
And it was literally 3 weeks
3
beforehand.
weeks. Holy
But
shit.
it was opportune for us to have that conversation in so many ways because it did help me as I've moved forward, right?
Mhm.
2 big like, well, 2 major things came out of that conversation. One was I never knew how he would ever want to be laid to rest.
Mhm.
He had always jokingly told me he wanted a Viking funeral.
Yeah.
And, I looked at him that evening. I said, "Okay, well, if we're gonna have this morbid conversation, then we need to
Huh.
let's talk about it a little bit more because I don't know what you want.
Uh-huh.
I'm Hindu. We do, you know, we do, what's the word? Oh, my brain. Cremation.
Okay, I'm like,
Sorry.
I don't know.
I'm
I'm
having
the
a hard time
Jordan.
today. No,
Okay.
sorry. We do cremation, right? So
Okay.
and while he grew up very Christian, and
Uh-huh.
you know, burials is more common there.
Very
So I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know what you want. Do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? I know you want a Viking funeral, but I'll go to prison.
Yeah, I can't do
So
that.
in order for me not to go to prison, what is your second best?
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, I wanna do cremation." And he's like, "I like a lot of the stuff you guys do, so something similar to that would
Okay.
be fine." So that's one thing I got from the conversation, but the other thing that I got from the conversation, which he said right afterwards, is he said, "I expect one thing of you, though." And I said, "Yeah, what's that?" And he said, "Don't let our kids ever miss a minute. Not even a day.
Oh.
Don't let them cry, don't let them." I mean, obviously, they're gonna cry, but try to limit their pain
Yeah,
and make them be kids.
and not get lost in it.
And not get lost, and not let them this ruin their life and bring them down. And, it's a lot of what I do every day is
Mm.
I try to the only way they'll ever do that is if I do it.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah,
see
that's true.
me doing it, then
Mhm.
I'll then I do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, then they understand that it's okay, and that it's okay to move forward, and it's we can be happy and love, um, and still miss him.
Yeah.
um, but not have to be crying about it every day, not have it ruin our life,
Yeah.
right? We have to make him proud and
Mhm.
continue to move forward every day.
Yeah.
So
That was a like a magical gift from the universe.
That he told me that absolutely, because it's what I think about every day, and it's how
Mhm.
I keep going.
Yeah.
100% is I've gotta think about my kids,
Yeah.
and that is what he wanted,
Mhm.
and that is what he wished for, and I'm not doing him wrong by getting up every day
Right.
and not having that widowness, sadness, crying, like I
Yep.
can't do anything, that desperate, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the
that
guilt of
stereotype
oh,
that we're
mhm.
given.
Totally. Mhm.
And I'm not gonna do that, and I'm not gonna be that person. He married me for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a little duck that sits right there. It's a Wonder Woman duck.
Mhm. Oh.
Because that's what he thought of me, and he
Uh-huh.
gave me that duck, and he's like, "Think of this is what you are, and this is,
Mhm.
you're strong, and
Mhm.
you will always stay strong, and you have to stay strong."
It's
And that's just
amazing.
how I try to take every day, really.
Yeah. He's amazing. Oh my god. I love that so much. Because it is, it's so true. Like, it's so oh, you know this, but, so people you get so stuck uh, in other people's expectations of you too.
Oh,
Like,
you do? You know how much
yeah,
guilt I've felt over,
totally.
like, since that day?
Mhm.
Like, I feel, and it's myself, right? You're your
Mhm.
own worst enemy, and it's
Yeah.
because of the stereotypes out there, and yeah, there's probably comments or things like that that may be kind of under the breath,
Mhm.
but you hear it and you digest it, and it goes in your brain,
Yep.
and you sit there and go, "Well, wait a minute. No, no, hold
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
I don't need to be that person. I don't need to be Sandra Bullock who's sleeping in her bed for
Mhm.
3 months
Right.
because her husband's gone.
Right. To
That's not
honor him in the proper way. Like, that's not it. He
it's
wouldn't
not
want
fair to
it. It's
me,
not
it's not
really
fair to my children,
exactly.
and it's not
Exactly.
fair to him
Not fair to
either, and it's not fair
him.
to
Mhm.
his memory
Yeah.
for us to do that,
Agreed.
because that is the last thing that that man would have
Mhm.
ever wanted from us.
And none of them would. None of them would, but
No.
there are such I mean, I remember this, over the course of John's illness, I all the things were happening. It was COVID, I was going through menopause, and just really full focus was on his health, and I lost my own health in it, and I was drinking a whole lot of wine. So, I gained so much weight, and then when he died and I finally came to a place where I was, like, ready to take care of myself again, I had a conversation in my own head about this because I was like, "Oh my god," because it was a couple months after he died. "If I start losing weight, people are gonna automatically assume I'm getting ready to date, and I don't want them thinking that about me." So I literally purposely didn't lose weight so that other people wouldn't think I'm ready it's so stupid
Oh, it
and
is.
so dumb.
Mine's makeup,
Yeah.
right? Like, I
Uh-huh.
did not wear a lot of makeup with him because he didn't
Uh-huh.
care when I had makeup. He loved me being naturally
Yeah.
the way I am. I now have been I lo side note, I lost my job a week before he
Mhm.
died.
Um,
So now
mhm.
I'm getting into having to look for a job again. And so I keep wearing makeup and I keep thinking to myself, oh, what is somebody going to say if they see me with
Yeah.
makeup? Because they're going to think
Oh,
I'm trying to like impress or
look
whatever. And
look
it's really
better, yeah.
not. It's just,
I know.
or I am, but for a completely different
Right.
reason,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. No, no.
I
You
know.
are your own worst enemy in this whole
Totally.
thing of it, right? The amount of times I've had to talk myself down and be like, no, hold
Mhm.
on. That's not fair to you. That's
Yeah.
not fair to your kids. Stop it. You are better than this and you
Mhm.
can move on from this, and moving on doesn't reduce the amount of
Right,
love I had for him,
right.
and it doesn't reduce the respect I had for him, and doesn't reduce the fact that he was my best friend and I don't have
Yeah.
one now.
It doesn't mean
Uh,
you miss him any less, doesn't mean you wish things were different. It's just
it's life
doing
and you
what
have to move
yeah,
forward.
what you need to do for yourself to live a full, happy, purposeful life,
Mhm.
and to set the example for your kids so that they can also do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. I love that. Um, well Okay. We talked about this, and this is something that I mentioned at the beginning that was mind blowing to me because you did lose your job a week before. And I remember you told me that, you didn't know your husband's going to die. It's not like he was ill. So you're, casting the net and putting things out there to, to get another job. And I know you said you said that you kind of backburnered that for, obviously you needed to take care of your kids and heal and get
Mm.
all the business of death taken care of. And when you started getting back out there to network and look for another a job to continue your career. Tell us what happened with that because I just find this so fucking mind-blowing in so many ways that
Yeah,
that it's shocking to me. So,
yeah.
well,
So
talk about it.
my career, I'm a leader, right? Like I am now at the VP level, director level, and I run teams.
Mhm.
So for some reason, not for some reason, I mean, I don't see it, right? Like I can't say that I get where they're coming from, but I definitely they don't know me. And that's really
Mhm.
what the key is, right? And a lot of people tend to think you're broken
Uh-huh.
once you lose somebody, right? Especially your husband. They just automatically think that the strength is gone, the power is gone, the resilience is gone, which are three very key important things to any real leader.
Yeah.
And so I have to tippy toe now around the subject of losing my husband as I'm interviewing, because if I bring it up, I all of a sudden don't hear from them again. And it is a fact of life and it sucks in a way because it genuinely has made me who I am even more so now than before. And I'm stronger for it. And
Right.
it's sad that they don't necessarily realize that yes, some people can get broken by going through this, but other people can pick up and figure out how to build strength off of it, and that is exactly what I'm doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
even though I'm not working right now, and I still haven't worked, I mean, it's been a little over 7 months
Mhm.
now, since both activities have happened. I did interview a bunch in the beginning because I had started looking for a
Okay.
job, but I realized right away it was too soon, right? Like,
Yeah.
I needed to spend time with my kids
Yeah.
and stuff stuff, but now that I'm getting back into it, um, there is, like, the advice you get from other executives, "Oh, don't tell them. Don't
Mhm.
let them know." And it's like, sad in a way
Yeah.
because it's like, well, if they know, then that means I'm all of a sudden no longer up for the job.
Right. So you have to not that being a widow becomes your identity, but it does become part of who you are, right? It's just like a mom. Just because
I'm
your
a
kids
single mom,
yeah,
right? Because
your
I'm a
kids
widow.
grow up yeah, your kids grow up and you're not mothering on a 24/7 basis, you're still a mother, you know?
Right.
And you're still and so that, that's part of who you are. And you said something to me, um, the other day that I was like, "Yeah, damn straight," because you said, "People think you're weak or you're fragile or you're whatever," and you're like, "Try telling your 2 young children that their dad died." That's the
Yeah.
strongest thing you ever have to do in your life, and those
Yeah.
people who are interviewing you thinking, "Oh, she's too fragile or weak to
No,
for
no, the
me."
hardest
Oh my god.
conversation I've ever
Mhm,
I've reprimanded employees, I put employees
mhm.
on PIPs, I've done so many different things, I've had to tell other leaders to suck it if their
Yeah.
if their folks weren't treating my team properly. I've had a lot of conversations like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, the hardest conversation was sitting down a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old
Yeah.
and explaining to them while their father is technically alive in the hospital,
Mhm.
he's gone
Right.
or that he is likely gone. Because what happened, it was the day before, again, he was in the hospital for 3 days, and the second day when everything was
Mhm.
basically the writing's on the
Right.
wall, all I need to do is an MRI to really
Mm.
verify that the brain is gone.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I decided to sit down my kids and tell them because if it was gonna happen, I was gonna make it happen fast, and
Mhm.
that is just for the betterment of my children.
Right.
It long run, it turned out it was good that I did it fast because he ended up being an organ donor,
Oh,
and, he saved 3 lives because I didn't sit
wow.
on my hands.
Yeah.
But I also didn't sit on my hands because I had 2 children to worry about, and I knew exactly what was happening with the brain or
Yeah.
not exactly, but I understood
Yeah, you
enough
understood enough
about the
about what was
brain.
going on. Mhm.
Yeah, so I sat them down and, it was the day before, and I told them, I said, "This is what's happening. These are the tests that they've done." Like, I tried to explain to what was a 9-year-old and 7-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
And by the way, that 7-year-old a month prior had brought a dead bird into the house thinking she could bring it back to life.
Oh, wow.
So that was her mental, right? Her
Yeah,
mental
where she was.
understanding, and even though they lost my father a year before,
Yeah,
a year is a long time to a 6 or a 7-year-old in
totally.
terms of brain
Yeah.
and how much they're gonna grow and comprehend and what life is and what death is. And a month before, she brought in that bird, and I sat them down, and I had to explain to them that what likely was
Mhm,
happening. And it wasn't even he was still alive, he was still in the hospital, we hadn't done the MRI. We were gonna do the MRI the next morning, and if the MRI showed what we thought, we were gonna say goodbye to him that afternoon.
mhm.
So I prepped them,
God.
or I told them, what was gonna happen because I wanted them to have a little bit of hope, but at the same point, I was very, very clear about the likelihood of what was gonna happen.
Well, yeah, and it's like also I'm thinking it's a little bit of hope, but also a little bit of time to prepare themselves because I mean, not that you can prepare, but you know what I mean? Just like process a little bit before they're going in to say goodbye.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
because they did go in to say goodbye, right? Like, they both
Yeah.
walked into the room. Um, with my father, I gave him the choice, with their father, I did not.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
that's smart.
I knew that they would regret it because my youngest was the one I was worried about. I knew my older boy was gonna go no
Mhm.
matter what because he went for my father.
Okay.
And saw him before they said goodbye to him. But with my youngest, she didn't go with my father, and she is, a lot more shy and a little bit more
Mhm.
timid. But I knew that, or I felt that she would potentially be mad at me later on in her life if I didn't say, no, you need to say goodbye to your dad.
Yeah, just for the closure and just to
Just for the closer.
yeah.
So yeah, I had that conversation, hardest conversation,
Right.
an hour of them asking questions. Oh, well, what if this happens? Oh, well, what if this happens? Oh, well, what, and the what
Yeah.
ifs a child can dream up
Yeah.
of, oh, well, what if the brain comes back, and having to explain that once oxygen is gone from it
Right.
and what it does to it, it's tissue that can never be rebuilt.
Mhm.
It's not like our heart. It's not like those other areas in our
Yeah.
body. And it is the one that once it's eaten,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Mhm.
Just having them try to understand that in a calm way, in a
Yeah.
communicative way for them to really comprehend, right? Like, definitely the hardest
No kidding.
conversation I've had.
Yeah. Hardest conversation, and then also parenting as a new single parent, while also handling the business of death, while also suffering your own loss, you're going through your own grieving process. I mean, you can't come up with a harder situation for that. So the people who are like widows are fragile and weak, and we got to be
We are
careful. And
not.
that's why people don't talk about that's why I started this friggin' podcast is because people stop even talking about them because they're afraid you're going to have a meltdown or you're not going to be able to
Right?
handle it or
What
whatever. It's so
and just, like, people
crazy.
not wanting to even talk to you about your husband.
Yep.
It's just like, "Come on.
Yep.
He was here. I'm not gonna break down and cry." Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's good to have joy and
Yeah.
remember him. It's good
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Um, keep his memory alive. It doesn't have to be
Exactly.
sad all the time.
It's that was like the biggest thing to me when I would obviously at the beginning, everybody's sharing stories and doing whatever, but then it's like nobody even acknowledges that they even lived, and I just found that so weird. I was
It
like, "This
is.
is weird," and I remember a friend of mine, probably I don't know, like a year, maybe year and a half after John died, coming up John was a great guy. Everybody loved him, but he could be an asshole sometimes. And they came up and told me this story about one time that he was just a jackass, and just did something and it was hilarious. And I literally was like, thank you so much for that because
Yeah.
you're not only talking about him, but you're talking about the real him. We're not all perfect all the time. We can
Yep.
all be assholes. So I was just like, that was like one of my most treasured memories after he died that they took the time to say this to me. That was like funny at a party, we're just telling like out of the blue story that I was just like, that is freaking awesome. And I appreciated it so much because to
Mhm.
me, that's the real him. I'm an
Yeah.
asshole sometimes. I hope people tell my asshole stories when I die. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that's the main thing that started this podcast is just a place to talk about them and all of who they actually really were and are to us still. And it's amazing. Um, but I
Yeah, I
love
mean, I played poker 2 to 3 times a week, and
Mhm,
Gabe did too. Like, we
mhm.
played with this steady group of people, a lot of people we know, and yeah, I hear it all the time. Like, I see it all the time. A handful of them know that you could still talk about him, but
Yeah,
God, the rest just tippy toe,
yeah,
and it's like, "Yo, you knew him too. It's okay. It's
yeah.
okay. I'm not gonna all of a sudden fall over and, start crying my eyes out. Maybe my eyes might get a little teared up, but
Yeah,
there's joy in
that's
that
okay
tears
too, though.
too. Like,
That's also
there's
fine.
yeah, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I wonder if people are scared of it because it's mortality. And now they're
It
talking
is
about something that everyone is scared of because we all are gonna go someday,
yes,
and
and
it's
it
hard.
they're very uncomfortable with death, which is weird because it happens to all of us, but
Yep.
people are so weirdly uncomfortable with it, and they just act weird about it, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, it's weird, it's all weird, but, I love that. I love too, and I will get into more of the stuff that you've talked about with just this stupid stereotypical image of what widowhood looks like. First of all, people think that you're 85, 90 years old and we're all that old, so to see people that are younger is like, what, that doesn't make sense, so they can't process that and they keep holding on to that antiquated view of what who we are, right?
Mhm.
But, and then I just can't it still blows my mind that people, as soon as they hear that you're a widow and you have to hide that part of you to have a shot at having a job is insane. But I love what you've done with I love talking about your growth through grief and how the death of someone that is so important to you changed you. This didn't I don't think it actually changed you. I think it gave you realization. You were talking to me about Gabe's celebration of life and the people who showed up. So share with us about that because you had some surprises, the people who drove forever, who you didn't even know that well. And then
Yeah.
I think it's just awesome for you to really I love that you thought about why they were there and how they showed up and why it mattered and what you've done with that information of really just true self-reflection of like how these people their presence has kind of charted a new course for you in
Yeah,
your
in some
life.
ways, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, like I'd mentioned, right? I lost
Mhm,
my job 1
mhm.
week to the day
Same.
before he died. Well, basically, it was Saturday morning, Friday
Mhm.
night, and I had a couple weeks, that I was supposed to be working for the company, and my whole team knew, and it wasn't a bad thing. It's not like I got fired or anything. It was just a leadership reduction that they had to do. Um, but, you go through a lot of guilt when you sit there and you have your husband dying in the hospital and your brain sits there and goes, "Oh, well, shit, what happens now?" You just went from 2
Yeah.
incomes to 0. You've got
But
two
the
and a half
stress of
kids.
that had to be
You
just mind
you've got
boggling.
a stepson who's about to go to college, which we already said we're paying for half of it. You've got 2 kids that are very young,
Mhm,
and, it's guilt there's a lot of guilt there, right? Like, you don't wanna think about work, but
mhm.
what do, right? You're like, "I
You
don't know
have
what
to start
tomorrow
to
is.
yeah,
All I know is I've got 2 kids, a house, and a husband that told me to make sure that I do anything less for them than they already had," right?
yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? So, a lot of sadness or whatnot that was happening, a lot of confusion, a lot of scaredness. I did 2 interviews right away when I probably shouldn't have because I was already in the process prior to him passing. But yeah, the day of his funeral, I showed up, I pulled up to his funeral, and I was there was l I was it was not like I was late or anything,
Mhm.
but there was one person, maybe 2 or 3 in the parking lot, right? One in particular, though, that as I was pulling in, I saw, and it was a lady I managed over 15 years ago on a team for AT&T.
Wow.
She didn't know Gabe. She I think we had just started dating maybe
Mhm.
at that time. No, I don't even know if we were dating yet. But she didn't even know him, nothing, right?
Okay.
And um she showed up. She showed up because of me, and she showed up there to be for me.
Mhm.
I haven't talked to this lady in since I managed her, really, maybe a couple
Wow.
times, but definitely not in the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, you know, she was the first person I saw, and at that moment, I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Maybe I don't need to worry about work," right? It was just the path
Mhm.
of my brain going,
Yeah.
"You don't need to worry about this so much." And then as that afternoon progressed, the sheer amount of people that were there from my career. Now,
Mhm.
again, we had a company together, totally expecting to see Ringer folks.
Yeah.
Ringer was the name of our company.
Okay.
Absolutely expecting to see Ringer folks. But to see all the people that I managed before and after Ringer was just absolutely incredible.
Mhm.
I had again that was somebody my first team I ever managed. She was there, and then every team I managed, like every team that I had at least one person there
That's crazy.
supporting me, at least one person. And then the amount of people that were there from my last position where everyone knew I wasn't there anymore. I had been
Yeah.
laid off. I had a team member drive all the way from Florida, Orlando, or no, Miami, I think. Yeah, Miami. She lives in Miami.
Wow.
She drove all the way from Miami up to the funeral to be there for me. I had a couple other people fly in, you know, not to discount Gabe and all the love he had. He had a lot of love there.
Mhm.
You know, the room was definitely easily over 200 people,
Mhm.
but I would say 20% of it were people that showed up for me that I had managed or worked with
That's
that
crazy.
may or may not have known him.
Mhm.
Um, and that was just, it was then I realized, you know what? Forget about work. Forget about it,
Mhm.
right? Like work will happen. You are good at your job. You are
Yeah.
good at what you do. You just got to figure out the place. And at that
Right.
time, I didn't realize the market was as a little bit hard as it's kind
Yeah.
of come over the last 6 months. But I said, you know what? You know what you're doing because
Yeah.
there's no way people would show up for
That's
you
right.
if I wasn't a leader that they felt that they wanted to
Mhm.
reciprocate that compassion or
Mhm.
whatever you wanna call it,
Totally. Like,
right?
if you were an
That
asshole, they're not showing up. They're not driving that far. They're not buying plane tickets. Nothing.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. That I mean, it speaks volumes. It really truly does. It speaks volumes to who you are as a person.
yeah, so
So, you made
and I
that real.
didn't want it to let it break me either, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not letting this and this and this and all
Mhm.
these things that are happening in the span of a week break me. I'm not gonna do it. I mean, I went and got my scuba diving license 2 weeks after he died.
That's
2
insane.
weeks.
Oh my.
Why? Because I had already done 90% of it. I had
Mhm.
1 dive left to go. That 1 dive I was supposed to do with his son,
Mhm.
my stepson, who is also a diver, is already a diver. I was supposed to go to a quarry with him. It was supposed to be just a quick little 1-day dive so I could get my full scuba open
Mhm.
water diver certification and all
Wow.
that. And I had worked on it a couple months before, and I knew if I didn't go then, I didn't know when I would go, and then I would may have to redo everything.
Ugh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, "Okay, I need to be an example to my stepson,
Mhm.
who's about to go to college. I
Mhm.
need to be example to my kids." And they all
Mhm.
knew I was supposed to go do it. And originally I told my stepson, "No, we're gonna cancel it." But then as the days progressed, I said, "That's not what he would want. Would
Right.
he want this? No.
Right.
Would he expect this of me? No. He would be pissed off at me
Mhm.
if I didn't do this to really show them that you have to move forward and you have to keep continuing."
Yeah. Well, and it's also a lesson in follow through and commitment and, just fulfilling your own goals, you
Yeah.
know? That was a
And
goal.
resilience, right? That I may
Resilience.
be a widow, but I'm not broken, right?
Right.
Like I'm
Mhm.
not broken
Yeah.
and to in a way fate I in a way I did it for myself
Mhm.
too to be like I'm not going to be that person. I am going to be somebody that can get up
Yeah.
and move forward. and all of that, and you know, I've seen a lot of people even in my own family who have lost their spouse and
Mhm.
are still broken years later, and I won't be that person because if I am, what does that do to the kids?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's not setting them up for any future resilience of their own or any kind of bounce back, any it's resilience and bounce back is the same thing. But yeah, just like how to handle obstacles and challenges because we all get them your
Yep.
whole life. Got to figure out how to navigate life once you have them.
Yeah.
Um So, what did you, upon reflection, I love what you've done and what you have planned for your future. You're interviewing, you're still doing the whole thing, but I love that you're creating something for yourself a- at the same time.
Yeah, so, you know, again, that funeral, as I took it back later on and I reflected upon it, and I was like just so flabbergasted as I thought about how many people showed up. And then when I looked at the sign-in book and I saw some of the names that maybe I didn't see in face, but I saw that they were there, and I
Oh,
was like, holy cow, these people were there. And
yeah.
why are people showing up for me who didn't know my husband but knew me, and they
Mhm.
knew me from work? What is it that I do, right? And so, you know, a couple other things took place as well. And while I've been like, okay, I'm not working now. Now I got to find something to do or grow or expand upon. And again, remember, I managed my husband. I worked with him
Right,
too.
right.
I sat there and said, well, what brings people to support a leader like that? How am
Mhm.
I leading in my life in terms of being a leader in the workplace, right? And what is it that I do? And I started reflecting upon that to be like, well, you know, w- let's think about this more, right? Let's build something here and let's see what it is that gets somebody to show up 500, whatever, how many 100 miles away and come and see me, or somebody else that I haven't talked to in over 10 years. And because they happen to be, it was another person that was linked to my Facebook. She wasn't even linked to my Facebook because I
Wow.
didn't post any of this on my LinkedIn. I post this on my Facebook about when the
Mhm.
funeral would be. I didn't call a lot of people. You know, you were very much in the headspace of I'm in my own world with my kids and that's it. But I didn't call a lot of people, nothing. But what brings those people to show up for
Mhm.
you? And it has to be something I'm doing as a leader
Right.
and a way I lead my folks, and lead my teams. And so I started building something since I'm not working. I'm like, okay, well, let's keep our time busy and let's reflect upon that. What makes me a good leader? And so I ended up building something called my authentic leadership engine,
Mhm.
which I'm hoping to turn into a book sooner or later, and stories because, again, I've got leaders that I'm sorry if their spouse passed, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would show up,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And the fact that these guys did, something resonated
Mhm.
so deeply with them for them to come and say, "No, I'm gonna be there for her on my Saturday off."
Mhm.
You know, my Saturday is a Saturday afternoon. It's not like, you know,
Right.
people got things to do, they've got families, whatever, but I'm gonna show up there to be supportive and to help support her through what she's going through her hardest time of her life,
Mhm. Right.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be there to support her. So yeah, I built, something called an authentic leadership engine, where it's got 5, core pillars. So
Mhm.
there's one core pillar at the center called Be Human, which is
Mhm.
really what everything's reflected on.
Yeah.
And this is a circle diagram, and I don't know if you want me to send it to you somehow or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. Definitely.
You
If
know,
there's a way we can link it, I'll put it in the show notes so people
perfect,
can
yeah.
check it out.
So there's a main pillar and then 4 supporting pillars underneath it, which is lead with courage, communicate openly, protect your team, and nurture growth.
Mhm.
And then under that are behaviors that help emphasize that pillar, right? And so it's shaped like a circle, but it should be thought of as a sphere
Mhm.
because everything follows back and forth to each other, right? So
Right.
For example, lead with courage. One of them is maintain a rock star attitude, right?
Mhm,
In the business world, maintaining a rock star attitude can be looked at as arrogant or not in the best of light.
mhm,
But if you look at it in the sphere, it's different because being human is at your center core.
uh-huh,
Your rock star attitude is because you are optimistic,
mhm,
you are positive, you are driving with enforcement with your team,
mhm.
but you're human at the same
Yep.
point. So you're not, I'm, an arrogant a-hole
God.
who,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
Mhm.
God, but
Yeah.
the rock star attitude is I'm positive, I am optimistic, I am all of those things that a lot of times a rock star would quote unquote have, but
Right.
I have to be human at the same point, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's a sphere. But yeah, I've built this out with all these behaviors, and now I keep emphasizing that. And again, going towards my growth and all that, I don't have a job. I do need to figure that out
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. I'm not too worried, but I'll get there, right?
Yeah.
And at the same point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this to better myself and
Mhm.
grow myself. And so taking this and, like I said, building a book upon it and building some other things. I'm actually about to start building an assessment measure that if a company was to develop this and say, I want my leaders to lead
Mhm.
with this mentality or this thought process, how do I know they are? Building that assessment tool, which I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
be using AI a
Love
lot
that.
for
Yep.
that, and
Yep.
diving into that world a lot of building that out.
Mhm.
But building out that and just building something more as I continue to wait and until I find that right role that's right for
Mhm.
me next, and playing the game of how do I interview? I mean, I
Right.
still fight that every day of, do I bring him up? Do I not
Mhm.
bring him up?
Mhm.
Has it been long enough to where they don't think I'm broken, or has it not? Again, they
Yeah.
think you break, and it's
Mhm.
like you don't have to be broken. You very much can grow and be strong, but at
Yeah.
the same point still have had a lot of love for that person.
Yeah, well, and so much of that, so much looping it back into your sphere, the core of just be human, just be a good human. There's so much of that that loops into all of the things. Being a good human is a good employee, being a good leader. It's so interesting because the, the world obviously needs great leaders and great leadership, and so few people are naturally born leaders, but it's one of those things in life that can be taught. It really truly can be. And if you can be the person that learns how to be a really strong leader, you just elevate. You elevate in life because it's such a needed position across the board of everything.
Yep.
So I told you this when you were first telling me about this, but I can totally see you like teaching workshops and just going into companies and really like sitting down with leadership and just helping everybody just become better at what they do because they have a great attitude, because they're coming from a place of compassion. And it's not just like out for themselves, like
Yeah.
so many people think being a good leader is like telling people what to do and do it my way or
It's
the highway
not.
or, whatever. It's not. It's like
No.
being a good
No.
listener, being a good feeler, like feeling where people are and really knowing how to lead them in a way that is set with the best intentions, with the best end game in mind, not just my way, not
Yep.
my way or the highway. So, oh, it's such a valuable thing for people to know how to do, and it's so needed across.
It is. It
Right.
is.
Yeah,
It is. I mean, leadership has changed over the years, right? I
so
mean, the
much.
last 100 years, we
Mhm.
went from a leadership mentality of whip and chain
Yes.
to now being open and being like, hold on a second, we all have lives outside of work. We
Yeah.
all have to maintain that. And that's all going to come inside, no matter how hard you try.
Uh-huh.
Which, that's probably why people are a little nervous,
Right.
right? Is that it does come in. But if you know how to control yourself and you know the people you're working with, you know how to work with them correctly,
Yes.
you know how to guide them, and you know how to make them stronger for it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Love it.
going back to your listening and learning and understanding, right? It's all of that, right?
Yeah.
So
1000%. 1000%. I love it. I love it so much. I love the look of it. So definitely I want to link that into the show notes and anybody who's curious about it. And I'll put your contact information too if you're good with that. And so
Yeah,
people can reach
absolutely.
out. Um, so I have a couple more things before we wrap up. First of all, anyone listening, what would be your ideal job? What are you looking for? Pitch yourself right now. Give a little
Oh,
pitch.
me? So
Yeah.
I'm a revenue operations leader.
Okay.
It's what I've been doing for a long time. I morphed from finance into revenue
Mhm.
operations, which basically is running your revenue engine from nuts to bolts. Your and again, this is in I'm specialized in the SaaS world and the professional services world, where I have a lot of a specialty, but I do everything from pricing to deals desk to order management,
Okay.
to system integration and system design and architecture, just running that whole, it's called lead to cash cycle,
Okay.
in an organization.
All
So,
right. All right. Well, good. Well, anybody out there needs
yeah,
somebody amazing, you'll know how to reach her.
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And then I wanted to see, did you bring a picture of Gabe to show us, or do you have one handy that you wanted to show?
Oh, I can go grab one if you
Ooh,
wanna
grab
give me 2
it.
seconds or so.
Yeah,
Oh, I
go.
forgot to grab it. It is
No,
right there.
yeah.
My kids and I made one just this
Aw.
weekend,
Yeah,
and it's great. So if
grab
I
it.
can.
Yeah, yeah, grab it.
Wonderful.
Perfect. I love it. We'll just have a little moment. We didn't go anywhere. I'm just filling time. Mm, sure.
Alright, sorry about that.
That's
So
okay.
this weekend, I took my kids to something called Kate's Club.
Okay.
Kate's Club is an organization that's designed for, children under the age of 18 who have either lost a parent or a
Mhm.
sibling or somebody that's in the everyday home.
Okay.
And they did this camp workshop, where we went for a weekend, and in that, we made this memoir of my husband,
Oh, I love it.
where it shows them, and you can see, like, you can see further
Mhm.
back, it's got a
Yeah.
lot of stickers and things that
That's
they
awesome.
remember. My
Mhm.
daughter put the meat because he likes food. But you can see a little bit up
Yeah.
close, right,
Mhm.
that, there's a picture of me and him at our
I
wedding.
love it.
This top one here is of him and my youngest daughter,
Mhm.
and then the bottom one is with him, and that's Logan, his older son, and then that's Neil, our son
Oh,
together.
I love it. Oh, thank you for sharing. I love to have a little face that goes along with our stories, so that's good. So,
Yeah.
if you're listening, you have to go look at YouTube and go watch it too. But okay, so I wanted to have that, and then advice to, let's say, let's do advice to potential employers who might be interviewing widows. What would you say to them? What are some thoughts you have on that? We've covered a little bit, but I mean, it is important to think about and just to add perspective because,
Mhm. Yeah.
especially those who haven't lost someone close to them. Like what would be your advice?
That, you don't discount that they're not a warrior,
Mhm.
because going through this is the hardest thing I've ever done,
Mhm.
and all it's done is made me stronger and better and everything, right? It's all you can take from it,
Yeah.
and that, you know, it shouldn't be taken negatively. It shouldn't at all.
Mhm.
I think that if you have somebody showing up that is showing that they have the presence and the capabilities, then you likely are talking to someone that really knows how to handle things, and they've probably, like me, have had harder conversations with the people around them than they would ever have to face in a boardroom.
Yeah, and I think that is such a good point too because um if you can handle what you've been through and you're showing up with a smile on your face and a good attitude and you want to get out there and do your best, then when the inevitable challenge comes in your job,
Yep,
you will obviously know how to manage it well because you've managed something way bigger than whatever comes your way in the work field. So that
exactly.
should be a super bonus point for a
It
potential
should, right? You would
Yeah,
think, but it's not.
I
It's
know, it's so crazy. Well,
yeah.
I'm glad you said that because, hopefully future employers will be listening and, keep that in mind when they're potentially not just a widow, but anyone who's lost someone that,
Yeah.
is part of what they've gone through.
We
Uh,
all lose people, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's a
everybody
fact
loses
of life.
somebody. Yeah, it's just, again, weird. People are uncomfortable with it and make assumptions about what that means for that person, which is ignorant, quite frankly. It's ignorant. Ignorant. Um, and then I just wanna give you the chance to any final thoughts or something we didn't touch on that you wish we had done or anything you wanna say before we wrap up?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think,
Okay.
we hit a lot of,
We did. We
who
covered
he
a lot.
was, and yeah, he was a great guy, though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I love it. I love it. You can tell he was. He just obviously was thoughtful I think that again, that was such a gift from him and the universe or whatever made him have that realization about himself just to be able to have that even your last conversation about what he wanted to do with once he was dead. I mean, that's just it's a gift. And
Yeah,
and
very
and for
timely
you to
again,
permit yeah,
oddly
that's
timely.
insane, insane, but also it's the permission he gave for you to be and live a happy life and to show your kids how to do the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a gift. That's a
Yeah,
gift.
absolutely. I mean, it is what I think about all the time when I start
Mhm.
like, that battle in your brain, right? We all do it, that battle in your
Yeah.
brain where you start going, "Oh, I don't wanna get up," or "I don't wanna
Yeah.
do anything," or "I'm sad," or this or
Mhm.
that. It's, "No, you better remember what he told you,"
Yeah.
and that's what you gotta live by every day,
Mhm.
and who cares if somebody looks at you
Right.
weirdly and they think that you didn't love him or whatever? Because I feel that sometimes
Oh,
too,
for sure.
that the
If you're
fact that
out in
I am
public
as strong as I
happy and
am.
laughing. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh, just because I keep showing up again," right?
Mhm.
Like, hold on, that does not discount who I
Doesn't discount it.
loved, right? Like,
Right.
there is no absolutely no, amount of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Yeah.
the love was there.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything except for, I have children, and I
Mhm.
have to do what's right for them, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do what he would have
Yeah.
expected me to do.
And he died.
And he
You didn't
died.
die.
Yeah, that's
So
very true.
you shouldn't feel like you have to live your life as though you did.
Right.
And, yeah, I think people forget that. I think people forget that.
Definitely, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love this conversation so much, and it's so important, and it's so, I mean, it's important to have a place to share your story and Gabe's story, but also just to wake people up to, some prejudices that are out there that people don't necessarily think about. I know I hadn't considered it until you shared your story with me and I was like, "Holy shit, we need to talk about this." Because that is fucking annoying that that is something that you even have to deal with, which means a lot of women and other
Yeah,
people, not just widows, have to deal with.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's important. It's important. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for
It's not
sharing.
okay either. It's like,
It's
why do
not
you don't
okay.
need to be making these
Complete
type of
bullshit.
decisions just
Yeah.
because, like, to
Yeah.
tippy-toe around it
Yeah.
just because of what somebody else might think it sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
When really, as we said, they're missing out on a badass, super strong woman who could run the show like nobody's business. So get your shit
yeah.
together, people.
Yeah, exactly. I won't disargue that because I know I could run it
I
usually.
know. I know.
Yes.
So crazy. But okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening. Obviously share this with anybody who can feel it and just spread it far and wide because these are real things that nobody thinks about. That situation is real. And awareness, knowledge is power. Awareness helps. And yeah, it's a big deal. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you. I
on,
really
spending
it's
time
it's
with me.
it's always
Yeah,
good to talk, right? Because that also is part of the healing process is being
for
able
sure.
to go through it and
Yeah.
to remember and yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing me on.
Awesome. I appreciate your taking the time to do that. And I appreciate everybody listening. Protect yourself, protect your heart, and just do good. Be a good human. That's the core of everything, as you said.
Be a good human, yep.
Yep.
Be
All
human.
right. All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day.